So the title is a compliment, is a complaint really a compliment? But to go through that, I'm going to talk about technology tools, inviting the spirit, finding resources, working efficiently, and supporting struggling students. And with each one of those, I have an example of a complaint from a student that really could be a compliment telling you that you're doing your job. So hopefully as we go through this, everything gets tied together. And so did I talk long enough that you're all at nearpod.com? Excellent. So you're going to click on join at the top, and then it's going to ask you for a 5-digit PIN, and this is the 5-digit PIN. Now, I'm going to be broadcasting the instructor view, which I would not do if I were doing this in a live classroom. I would broadcast the view that you guys see, but because you can already see that on your devices, I want you to see what the instructor sees. So once you've all put in that code, it'll ask you for a name and a nickname. You are free to put in what you want. You're not getting graded. If you were going to use this for your class and you wanted to grade it, you would need to give instruction. Please use your real name so I can give you points. But one way just to have fun is to let students put in their avatar names if you're not going to grade it, and I'm not going to grade it. So again, those are the 5 things that we're going to talk about, and it's all inspiring connections. How can we use technology to invite the spirit? How can the spirit help us find resources? Those resources are going to help us work efficiently, and hopefully that efficiency is going to help us support struggling students. So, technology we have. So, here's one of the first complaints I get about discussion boards. All of your students love discussion boards, right?
Can you turn the that top light off?
I have no idea how to do that.
Okay.
But I will still let you do it. Thank you. Okay. So one of the first complaints from students is discussion boards, because sometimes you have 2 due dates. One for the date you want the students to post, and one for the due date they need to respond to their fellow students. Well, iLearn 2.0 and 3.0 only let you have 1 due date. So I had a student complain that they can't find the due date. But on the other hand, it's actually a compliment because all of their other due dates are there. So I'm providing the students, all of the students, struggling or not, a resource to help them by providing the due dates. So if I will add some consistency, all of the posts are due on Tuesday, all of the responses are due on Thursday, then it becomes a consistent pattern for the students and not, geez, is that due Monday or Wednesday that week, or is that Tuesday or is that Thursday? You know, then they can just start to build from day one. When I do my instructor video, all of your posts are due on Tuesday, but the only date you will see is for your responses. Now, I used to, in the past, give them 2 or 3 weeks without docking any points for being late. And then all of a sudden I started docking points for being late, and I have a rubric built in. Well, that was a shock to the students. And I said, look, I was really nice to you the first couple weeks, getting you, especially when we went to iLearn 3.0, getting you used to the hang of it. No, what they said is, no, you start from day one what you want us to do and be. And I thought, you know, really, what am I trying to teach? Consistency, or that I'm changing? So I changed that this semester and started from week 1, docking up points. And now I don't have a problem because they know that's what it is supposed to be. They don't all of a sudden have to change their schedule 3 weeks in when I stop being nice. They know from day 1, put all the dates in as Tuesday, but they've got those. With that, I wanted to show something in the grade book that maybe you all know, but was not new to me the first semester of iLearn 3.0. So this is a Dropbox assignment, and right down here is this fun little button. You just text, and it changes the look of the assignment. Now there are times where this is easier for me to grade and less scrolling, but there's times I want to view it the way they submitted it. So just one fun, cute little feature in iLearn 3.0 that we have is you can actually change the look of what students are submitting on Dropbox. Oh look, I even have a slide that tells me to do that. So, piece of technology in or outside of 3.0 is your favorite to use in the class. You get to answer this on your device. So, the new person that just came in, if you will go to nearpod.com on your electronic device. Oh, I don't remember what the code was. Oh, that's why I have the instructor view up. Because for the instructor view, it will always give you the pin at the top, and it will also tell you how many students are there. So if I'm not on a screen like this that gives me names, I can always watch to see who's dropped on and off.
Okay, nearpod.com.
Nearpod.com, and then at the top right it should say join. And it'll learn 5-digit PIN, which is SNQIU. So as you guys type your answer, then you see they're popped up right away. So if you're using this synchronously in a face-to-face class, it's not just students are active because you're watching and listening. You actually had to do something. You're a little bit more engaged. So, do you have students complaining about how to reach you as the instructor in Canvas? We already know about announcements that you can email from the gradebook. The previous presentation here talked about video tutorials for students, how to do things, and well, he talked about video. You can use video for tutorials and video for feedback, email and text. Okay, there's just 7 right there that I thought of in like 10 seconds. Why are your students complaining that they can't reach you? There's 7 things right there. Apparently, I cannot count right. There's a 3 missing in my numbers. So glad I caught that down. Okay. So why do your students complain they can't reach you?
They're used to the face-to-face brick and mortar.
Okay, they're used to face-to-face right here, right now. So I tried an experiment. I've never done texting before, but 2 weeks in, when no students have done anything yet, I always send an email, hey, do you know that you're registered for this course? Did you mean to drop it when you added another course? Do you know that it's not independent study? I have regular due dates. I already sent that email out. So this semester I tried texting them. So I texted 6 students who had not done anything in the first 2 weeks. 3 responded within like 2 minutes. Okay, how many times have I been told as an instructor, text is the way these new students communicate? I had my proof in 2 minutes. So what other ways can you communicate with these students? Today's generation.
I've gotten a phone call from my instructor a couple times.
Sweet, a phone call.
Yeah, and that was actually really nice.
Okay, so I'm guessing from that comment that you're a student then.
No, well, master's student. So
Okay,
I'm
well,
doing.
it's awesome to hear student perspective as well in this, because a lot of times
Yeah.
we're sharing as instructors, but it's nice to know, okay, I can use all of these, but this is the one that worked. I was in a presentation yesterday that talked about emoticons, and I'm like, no, emoticons are not professional. Well, they put up some comments from students from a teacher that is using emoticons. Now, she doesn't allow them in the graded assignments, but if they're just emailing or texting or chatting, then it was allowed, and the teacher did it, and the student said, thank you for using emoticons. That's their language. And I was like, huh. So I may have to repeat that one. So it's nice to hear from students once in a while what works for you, because we can sit here all day long and talk to each other as teachers, but who's our end user? It's our student, what works for them. So this goes along with inviting the spirit. Now, I really struggle. How am I going to invite the spirit with a text? I've got it mastered for the video stuff. How do you guys invite the spirit through this asynchronous communication? Because that is the interesting thing. Every one of these is asynchronous. Is there a thought forming there, Jerry?
Yeah, just kind of similar to the last presentation, I really think there's a lot that can be done with asynchronous communications, both
Absolutely.
video, text-based. I just think we're barely scratching the surface on what can really be accomplished outside of time and space.
Right.
And I think the technologies exist. Some of them may be still pretty expensive, but I think the technologies exist to where we can have that face-to-face in spite of the fact that we're not in the same space or at the same time.
I love that you mentioned technology, and I'm going to use the same quote the previous guy did, but it's a good one, and it's from President Clark's inaugural address. I am convinced that we will find new ways to use information technology to reach more students and deepen the learning experiences of those we touch. In these experiences, students will teach one another in new and powerful ways. The capacity to effectively access time and space, exactly what Jared just said, will allow us to leverage the capacity of the university and reach even more young people. Okay, the technology is already there. We have innovative, expensive stuff, as we saw a minute ago from Harvard, or we have disruptive stuff like Nearpod that I'm using that's free. It's scalable, it's low cost, and when I show you at the end how you can do this asynchronously, it's actually going to pull the instructor out of the equation. So This is one particular area where I've actually struggled, and I've been working with my teacher, because I'm like, how do I share my testimony in an email? How do I share it in a text? And I laughed at the answers, the same as I do in the video tutorials. I just share a little example. I'm not writing out a 3-page lecture on my testimony. You know, it's more like a 3-sentence, you know? So if it's a text, it's even shorter, email a little bit longer, but you can share your testimony. You can share struggles you had. A gentleman shared yesterday that he makes video tutorials for his class. He teaches programming, and he has these 20-minute videos. Well, halfway into the video, the programming piece he was doing didn't work. So he's like, oh, I could just stop it and redo it, but I'm halfway into it. Oh, let me just go through. So he just went through how he troubleshot. The camera was still going, how he fixed it down the air, fixed it, and then finished what he intended. So the video was 23 minutes instead of 20 minutes like he normally has. And then when he was done, he thought, okay, I need to go edit out where I messed up. And he's like, no, I'm just too lazy. I'm just going to submit it to the students. The feedback he got from the students was phenomenal. Thank you for showing us how you troubleshoot. Thank you for showing us how you work through things. Thank you for showing us things don't always work perfect the first time. Thank you for showing us even you struggle. So he didn't intentionally share a testimony, but he did in a way that he said, I struggle too. This is how I work through it. He gave them an example. So that was a testimony that wasn't even intentional. Jeffrey R. Holland, I believe, is the one that said, we are the angels for each other. Jesus does not come down to every single one of us every time we have a question and answer. He sends all of us to help each other. In this case, if the students hadn't sent in those comments, he would have known he was giving answers that they needed. It happened to be related to content, but it can also be spiritually. We never know who's watching us, when they're watching us, and what they're watching us for. I may be up here talking about content, but what you take away is a skill. Okay, so best ways to invite the Spirit. This is always fun on a recording when you have a 30-second. I'm talking. It'll be a little tricky on the video, but here's the answers that they're selecting from. So whereas the first option was type in your own answer, this is a multiple guess type thing. So I could grade it, or we could discuss it. We could say, okay, most of you picked B, some of you picked A. Why the different answer? You can use this to start a dialogue. If there was one set answer, you could see students didn't get it because the right answer was C. That's not true in this case. Okay, but you would know, you could do a real quick evaluation. Okay, I need to go back over that concept. They didn't get it, okay? Or they got it great. I can go on, let's not waste their time, go to the next name. Okay, so my students were complaining about the amount of reading in my course, and I said, you didn't have to pay for a $100 textbook. I'm providing everything to you free, and you maybe have 3 pages a week to read. Okay, maybe 6 pages a week to read. If you're reading a textbook, you're looking at 12 to 20. If you're in a master's course, you're looking at closer to 100, right? Okay, a week, okay? I'm not giving you one textbook that's one person's perspective. I am pulling in research and videos and PowerPoints and other lessons from a huge variety. So, but I needed to put it in perspective for them. I teach a GS 105 class, so it's a lower level class. They haven't got into those 3,000 to 4,000 level classes yet where they're getting into a lot more. So I'm actually training them, okay, you're not in high school anymore, and you need to start reading this because next semester you're gonna be reading double the pages, and the semester after that, maybe even double that number. So this is practice, and this is the kind of stuff where you're taking responsibility for your learning, and you've got to budget this time in. So I have a handout, I have a craft, which is really funny because the previous guy presentation also talked about, no, it was the keynote this morning. It talked about how Google does not discriminate the sources, right? You type in a question, you get protagonist and antagonist. So you need to evaluate the sources, and that's one thing students need to do. I did not teach a writing course, I did not teach an English course, I did not teach a research course. And yet this example, so CRAFT stands for courtesy, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose. You know, when the students are out there looking for sources to cite when they are doing writing papers or research papers. Or I've actually seen a class where they're given a topic but told to find their own reading material on it. Okay, well, do you want them reading for or against? Do you want them reading a People magazine article about it or a peer-reviewed research article about it? So students in all categories also need to understand and evaluate their resources. But this same document works for you guys as instructors when you're finding resources. So if I back up the screen, so much fun that I control your screens with this. BYU Provo did a study a year ago, and I tried to find it to give you guys the link about alt text. Have you guys heard about alt text? Okay, it's an alternative text to textbooks. Instead of a textbook, what can you do? And that's what we've been practicing in JS 105 for at least 6 semesters now. There is no textbook. We bring in different readings. Well, this BYU-Idaho BYU Provo study showed that students earned higher grades and retained more information from the alt text method than one textbook. One textbook generally provides one perspective. When you're providing alternate means of the information, text, video, media, they're getting it in different formats from different people, but all supporting the same concept, the same context that you're wanting, content that you're wanting to provide in the class. So that study supported what we've been doing, and we're going to continue doing it. So, and then there's Creative Commons and OER. Have you guys either heard of either one of those? So Creative Commons and OER are free sources for finding stuff online. Creative Commons is just that, creativecommons.com. This is where, and there you will see some K-12 stuff in here as well as higher education, but instructors have gotten together and created this and stuck it here to share. And if it's here and you can access it, there's no copyright problem with you using it in your course. You just have to give credit to who developed it. So you may find a whole lesson in here that you want to incorporate in your class, or just a piece. And so OER is the same thing. I think it's oercommons.com. That should be taking you guys to a website, because I want to leave you with these websites to go to. It's the same exact thing. Teachers have gotten together, put their stuff out here to share, and it can be anything from, again, K through 12, but it's lesson materials, it's worksheets, it's pictures, it's test banks. You know, you don't have to reinvent the wheel for your class. Has somebody already done something cool and willing to share it? And what if you guys, you may see something out here and go, hey, I have something better. Share it. That's the whole idea about this, is it's just reciprocal sharing. So when you're looking for resources to support your class, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There may be stuff already out there, and you can just borrow it because they've already given it. Okay, this really is K through 12, and I know we're higher education, but it's just a lot of fun. But here's my warning: it comes up bright neon green on your screen. But this link down the side, this is just a picture, but on yours, if you click on any one of these, you'll probably get at least 12, if not more. So you're looking for a graphing tool to use in your class, click here. It's done the research for you. It's found the top ones that work, and generally free and virus-free and not spamware. So if you're looking for an image tool, same thing. Click on the image tool, you're probably gonna get, so you don't have to go out there again and sort through the literal thousands of apps that are out there. They've done a lot of the work for you, found what's free, what's worked, virus-free. Now, that's not a 100% guarantee, because you know there are people out there who have nothing better to do with their time than spam sites or make a virus. So it's not a 100% guarantee. I've gone through a lot of it because I happen to teach education at Southern Utah University, and we've used a lot of these in here. So I've gone through a lot of them. That's why I can say they're free, and I'm all about free. And they pull into various LMS, both 2.0 and 3.0, so Brain Honey and Desire to Learn. They also work with Angel, Canvas. Oops, but I don't like oops. So I've shown you everywhere off of BYU-Idaho to go for resources, but BYU-Idaho itself has amazing resources. And just one of them, if you go to just Google Study Skills videos, it's got pages of videos. Do you want to teach your students some note-taking skills? Are they struggling with sentence grammar, punctuation? Do they need to learn this to treat school like an 8-to-5 job? And these videos are less than 5 minutes. So you can populate these in here. I have actually used needs these videos in email responses to students. I think this video would help you. You know, it's almost a little bit of a testimony and inviting spirit again. I'm not a media developer. I can't make these fabulous Hollywood type videos. They've done it for you, short little vignettes that are high quality. So BYU is providing a lot of resources for us. That's resources.
I have a little comment.
Yes,
I think providing external resources is actually really important because it teaches your students how to find other resources besides the textbook.
yes. And the information that is available now compared to even 5 years ago is just exponential. How do the students sift through it and find what they need? But they also need to find it. You know? Now, I want a doctor who knows what he's doing, not who has to turn around and look it up.
Yes.
Okay, but that doesn't mean he's not sitting in his office at some point doing research and studying himself. Okay, here's a new scenario I haven't been presented with. What can I find out about it? Does this drug react to this drug? What are the allergies? What about this surgery? You know, they're constantly learning as well, right? We should always, no matter the position we're in, constantly be learning and growing. And so, but they do need to search. I really loved this morning when he said Google does not discriminate. It's sources, okay? 1, students need to find it. 2, they need to sift through it. Oh my goodness, the plethora of information that is out there, and it's not all accurate. If people would channel their energy for good instead of the evil. Okay. Oh, look, you've already answered it and done right. Again, this is just an example. So this was true false. But this is one more example where the students get it. Okay, I don't need to re-go over it. Of course, that was an easy question. I really miss rubrics from 2.0. They cut my grading time in half, because the rubric had the answers and the reason why they lost the point. So I didn't have to type it. And even if I cut and paste and I have this nice little document over here, rubrics cut my time in half. 3.0 doesn't have that, except they just did get it. So we're slowly putting it into my courses now, but especially for discussion boards where they got points for posting on time and points for responding to 2 fellow students and points for how many words they use. You know, the rubric can build all that in, and then if you're deducting points for those little technicality things, done deal for you, because you just checked the box on the rubric, total of the score the students could see, this is what she marked, there's the reasoning for it. You know, now without the rubrics, I had to type out, this is why you lost 2 points. But it's made me actually think about my feedback. So I have 6 graded assignments every single week. Without fail, I have 40 students. As online instructors, you know how much time you're supposed to be spending, okay? My students get 1 minute and 30 seconds for me to grade their assignment and give them feedback. Okay, really small window of time, right? So I was doing a lot of cutting and pasting. I was telling the students why they missed assignments, but I had students telling me, I don't understand why I missed points. And I'm like, not submitted on time -2. What don't you get? Well, they weren't connecting that back to the rubric and back to the instructions. So I would say, according to the rubric, according to the instructions, I started doing video tutorials. So I would take them from what they submitted back into the assignment. And I had students questioning answers on quizzes. And since I started doing 30-second video emails instead of texting, because they see, so I'm narrating as I'm doing the video, and I just use Jing, which is free, and as long as it's less than a 5-minute video, but generally mine are just 30 seconds, but I go right to the student submission, and sometimes you can draw and point arrows or circle things. This is what I said to do in the instructions, this is what you submitted. I have not had a question come back and go, I don't understand what you said. I've had many people say, thank you, now I see what you see. So I've started doing things in reverse. When students say, I don't understand these instructions, or this link is broken, or blah, blah, blah. And literally that was my information. I don't understand the quiz question, why I got it wrong. Well, then I had to respond, which quiz question, which web page are you talking about, which assignment, you know. Now I just tell them, if you send me an email of any problem, send me a screenshot. 9 times out of 10, the web URL is in that screenshot, and I can go to exactly where they were. But even if I can't, generally I can tell from the picture exactly what they're looking at. And the student view is not always identical to the instructor view. Now I'm answering my students' questions almost immediately. where they would email me Monday, and I would respond day 2 with giving more information, and they would respond on Wednesday with that additional information, and then I could go track it down on Thursday, and then I could give them an answer on Friday. Now, within minutes of them sending it to me, because I can see what they see, I can answer it, and that whole delay is gone. So, so rubrics are nice, they save time. Feedback, if it's substantive and detailed, then it becomes fabulous, and the students know what to fix. Now, 2 years ago, I had a TGL that suggested, so I give feedback on every single assignment that does not earn 100%. Well, what about the students that are always getting 100%? Do we worry about them? And she suggested picking one assignment a week where everybody got feedback. So I started that, and I could not believe the feedback that came back to me from my students about, thank you, I don't always know what I'm doing right. Really? You got 100%, how do you not know? But, you know, what was it that I picked up on that gave them that percent, or, you know, that high, that score? And sometimes my comments are, I really like that you said this, or thanks for the laugh, you know? I've even gone so far now as to ask students, may I use your example, your submitted assignment, as an example for future students of what A-level work is? And the comments that came back from students to me from there bring tears to my eyes, because thank you, I didn't know I was doing that little work. Thank you for saying that I'm good enough to be an example to other people. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why are my students' self-esteem this low? You know, and it's not everybody, but just asking them to use their work as an example for somebody else. Plus, they're the peers to each other. Okay, I don't care that we all speak English, they speak the same dialect. So showing them an example of student work has just been amazing. And so that's some of my feedback now. And sometimes I'll post it in announcements. I'll say, you've got, for example, one of the assignments they had to do is track expenses for a week. And this is a student who submitted previously who's allowed me, given me permission to show her work, and this is A-level work. And I'm giving them an example before they do the assignment. And I do not believe that's teaching to the test. I've done a lot of research because I'm working on my PhD, but I've also done some presentations on rubrics. And a lot of the questions I get from the audience is, well, that's teaching to the test. And I say, no, that's transparency. Instead of making the student guess, do you want a double space? Do you want a 10-point font or 12-point font or blah, blah, blah? You're telling them, this is what I'm looking for. You tell them, write a 3-page paper, and you tell them what to write about. But are they writing it APA style or MLA style? Are they writing it in first person or third person? How much are you going to take off for grammar versus content? Do you want an introduction, a body, and a summary? You know, you're providing directions for what you're going to grade. It's transparency. It's not teaching to the test. You're telling the students, here's my rubric points, here's where I'm going to focus on. Here's where you should then focus on. So here is my discussion board rubric that is now in Iron 3.0. So if I click on this box, this is what the student sees. If I click on this box, this is what it sees. So if they only got 3 points, they can see exactly, and I've got 2 categories, so one's for their posts, one's for their replies. But I can still go above or below and write an additional comment. If I want to say, hey, thanks for the laugh, or thanks for substantive posts, thanks for addressing your fellow students by name, thank you for being deep, thank you for sharing your personal experience, I can still add that in there and make it personal to them. And yet, can you imagine having to type this or even cut and paste this all the time? The tricky part is there are 3 different things in here where they can lose points. And this is where some of my feedback was coming, was that which one of these 3 did I mess up on? So that was helpful for me to know from students to clarify which one of the 3. The rubric won't allow you to do that. You'll have to type that into your comments. And it's here in this presentation in case you want to copy it for your own, because I actually didn't come up with that. Brother Tyler did. So now you have a drawing or a matching activity. And don't be shy. Be brave. Be the first one to submit. Okay, too small for the camera, but we're giving examples of rubrics, assessments, and feedback here. Assessment, when most people hear the word assessment, they think final test, quiz, exam. But assessment is just how you're measuring the student's learning. So it can be any graded assignment. It can also be a practice activity. If I were giving you guys this as homework, this would be and not grading it, this is just a practice activity. How often do we let our students have a practice activity before they have to submit something for a grade? How often do we allow them to redo something and resubmit it? Okay, I have 6 graded assignments due every single week with 40 students. If I allow a redo, I'm now into I have to take time away from my family in order to grade an assignment a second time. But if I have an assignment, all my assignments were at 10 points. But if I have more than half my class come in with 5 out of 10, okay, that's something wrong on the instructor. I didn't present the material right, the instructions weren't clear, something was wrong, it's not the student's fault. So I give them all a redo, and then I gotta go through and redo it. I've had so many students thank me for that opportunity to redo something and clarifying the instructions. I took the responsibility in that case, and then I fixed it for the next semester so it doesn't happen again. How many of you know the adding process? ADDIE. Okay, it's the evaluation part of the adding process. I can see that from my grades. I do an on-spot evaluation. And the fun thing is I'll email a student or two that normally gets 100% and say, this is what you did wrong. Where do I fix the instructions so that you know what to do? You know, and they email back within a day with the line. I send that out to everybody. I change the reference course because I actually have access to mine. Tell the course lead what I'm doing because I'm just updating the instructions. So the students are actually helping me. Again, we all speak English, but it's that pure dialect where they help me rewrite those instructions for future classes. So think about, again, I know it's hard to just throw in extra assignments just to have a practice, but how often when you're writing a report do you get to submit a rough draft? You know, when you're writing a grant application, don't you have somebody read it through before you submit it? So if there's times where you can let students practice, repetition, then we're building that foundation of knowledge. I know in my class, read, and then do, you know, but there's no practice in between, and all of a sudden I'm grading them one time. So something like this is how I can throw practice activities in there. Okay, so it's the last one. I had a student complain on an evaluation that I only check my emails in the morning. Monday through Friday, 7 to 8, I check emails and I do my grading. Without fail, my students know that's when they can find me online. He complained that I only checked my emails in the morning. And I really struggled with that for a long time. I'm like, okay, I have 40 students. I cannot be available 40 different times to accommodate your specific schedules. What he was really saying was he knew when I was going to be there. And the most he has to wait, except for the weekend, is 24 hours for a response. You know, other teachers are waiting 72 hours and a week. Well, what is a student supposed to do if the assignment's due Wednesday and they emailed you Tuesday? Okay, some of you would say don't procrastinate and wait till the last minute. So who are our struggling students? Give me an example of a student that you would think is struggling, how you would know that they're struggling.
First off that came to mind is not submitting assignments.
Okay, not submitting assignments, absolutely. What else?
If they have to do a presentation, check for confidence in it.
Oh,
If they don't act confident or if they don't show they're confident, my mind is struggling.
okay, excellent. How else do we pick out a struggling student?
Maybe if their responses, and this can be in discussion board or in their assignments, if it's just bare minimum.
Yeah.
Lets me know, okay, is this just time constraint, are you just rushing through this? Or is there really, you don't have the depth of understanding that I would like you to have.
Not understanding content. So for the first couple of years I taught, that was exactly what I would have said as a struggling student. And on our weekly reflections, we're always asked, what did you do to help your struggling students? And my first thought was those that are not submitting assignments, I sent them an email. Did a phone call, now I'm doing text. But I had a student a couple semesters ago who had brain cancer. He never asked me for an extension on an assignment, but he was struggling. what appeared to not understanding the content was an emotional trauma that I have brain cancer and I'm facing surgery. And I just want a friend to talk to. And he actually, so I had a synchronous meeting, and the first synchronous meeting, he came off as kind of a stalker, and I'm like, hey girls, be careful, he was not on campus, but he really came off as that. Well, he called me after the meeting and told me what was going on. I did not have an ADA statement from him. He had asked for no accommodations. He had never asked for an extension on assignment. And we're a month into the course when I did that first synchronous thing. And he tells me he has brain cancer. Okay, here's a student who is struggling physically, mentally, emotionally. Did he get a lot more support from me? Yeah, he still never asked for an extension on the due date, but he would call me once a week. He just wanted someone to talk to. I was his mother's age, but he just wanted someone to talk to. He was living at home at the time because, again, he was facing surgery. I had a student last week who cut the end off of her finger, and she has 5 kids. She's like, I don't know how I'm going to do my assignments, because online, are your assignments mostly written? I said, give me a call, just tell it to me over the phone. Really? So I called her. I said, yeah, do you have time right now? Just give it to me over the phone. We did 3 assignments in 30 minutes on the phone, okay? I don't have to worry about that. They're done. I can see my grade. My teacher, it was 30 minutes of my time, okay? Yeah, that's 30 minutes I didn't have. My poor mother cut the finger of her finger off. She's got 5 kids, okay? There's a struggling student. She didn't ask me for an extension. I don't know what I'm going to do. Give me a call. We can do this. We can work this out, okay? That was last week. This week, one of her older sons is typing her homework for her. Is that okay? Is that cheating? I said, no, you're dictating. They're just typing for you. That's absolutely fine. Am I a whole lot more lenient this week on her grammar and her punctuation? Absolutely. I know her 12 or 14-year-old son is typing for her, okay? But she told me that. Not always are our struggling students, is it apparent? Is it visible? The first thing that we go to is they're not submitting assignments. It's not the depth we want. If they're submitting videos, we can see that little bit of trepidation, okay? But reach out to them a little bit. You mentioned discussion boards. Periodically, I'll see something on a discussion board and go, and then just call that student and say, hey, is there something going on I can help you with? I don't want them to think I'm their best friend or that I'm trying to be the counseling center, but it opens up, oh my goodness, I have a student this semester who is taking 20 credits online from BYU-Idaho. She's in Phoenix. This is off track this semester. On track doing 20 online credits. At 6 weeks, overlapping the BYU-Idaho semester, she is taking 12 credits from a community college face-to-face where she's from, doing a math, a stats, and I think a biology course that she's already done all the research to make sure that they transfer to BYU, so when she comes back, she's where she needs to be. She literally, for 6 weeks, has 32 credits. Is this a struggling student? I knew because she asked me if she could have a 24-hour extension on one assignment. And my policy is no, I don't do extensions. So I just said, what's the reason? She said, I got 32 credits, and I'm a little bit overwhelmed, but I'm like, honey, let's have a conversation. So I called her on the phone. I'm like, really, at 32? Come on, this is ridiculous. She explained the situation, and I said, let's go through a couple assignments. Again, 30 minutes, we took a couple assignments, took them off the path for her, allowed her to free up. This was the first week that she started her 6 weeks, so she had to get that new schedule down. The reason she's off track from doing it this way is she's at home, mom is doing her laundry, cooking her food, and she doesn't have a rent payment. So she knew to take additional stresses out, but still, how many of us can handle 32 credits, right? So sometimes allow them to reduce, sometimes due date extensions, extra instructions. Maybe they're not giving us the depth we want because we need to provide more instruction. Compassion, empathy, understanding, all the stuff you already know. Additional thing that I show my students is the BYU-Idaho grading system. So this should take you to the exact website where you have it. Because in my class, following instructions is not A-level work. That is C-level work. If you want to get a B, you've got to show me significant understanding and application. If you want A-level work, you've got to show me diligent application of the learning model principle. Take the content, take the assignment, and show me how you've applied that. Show me how you're using that in your life. Show me some reflection on that. Okay, and one last activity, but I think I'm pushing the time limit. So I'm going to end this session. Oops. To show you. So when you make your own account at Nearpod, and again, it's free, and all the activities I showed you in here are free. These are all the ones that I have or people have shared with me, and they're free. So if you wanted to see my rubric presentation that I did at IDLBC, you could just search for my name in rubric, then you pull it into your course, and as instructors, you have a permanent access to that. You could use it, access it, see it. The one I did today is this very first one that it's Inspiring Connections. And what I just did was a live session. But if I were to do this asynchronously for students, then I do student paced, which is essentially homework. Yeah, I know you want me to upgrade. You do get a lot of advertisements. So then what I would do is send an email out to students saying, going to Nearpod, and here's your 5-digit code. This code is only good for 24 hours, but everything you guys just went through, so write down this code. You can do this again asynchronously when I'm done talking. And you can see everything, you can do everything. So this is how you could use it asynchronously in your course as a practice assignment. Again, those codes are only good for 24 hours, so you've got to alert your students to that. But as instructors, if you make a Nearpod case, you just find Inspiring Connections, Jennifer Hunter, pull it into yours, you have permanent access to it. So with that, like 1 minute for questions.
How did you come across it? I've never heard of Nearpod before. How did you come across this?
This one, so I work full-time at Southern Utah University as an instructional designer, which makes it really fun that I can see both sides of teaching online and developing online. And my dean down there actually showed this one to me. But that cool tools for school, that's where I find a lot of my stuff. If you want to email me, hunterj@BYU-Idaho.edu, I've actually, for my education students, started a list of tech tools that I've sent to them that I've actually tested and tried and used. And then they're in categories. These are videos, these are polls, these are podcasts, this one's for music, this one's worksheets, this one's for math, whatever all the other categories are. And I'll just share that with you. So, I think you need to find what works for you. Don't try to use everything, because y'all remember the first, when PowerPoint came out, everybody used every color, every font, every bullet, every transition. I think technology is the same. Find what works for you. This is just one example.